serverless. It is one of the serverless computing service provided by the Google Cloud Platform. So, in cloud functions, it's like, for example, it's a event trigger based mechanism, sir. For example, it's a event based or a trigger based mechanism, and it is serverless. So, to use the cloud functions, we don't need to provision any kind of resources or servers. So, let me gonna tell you what is actually the cloud function first. So, for example, the use case I'm going to tell you guys. So, some event is happening. Assume that someone is loading a file to the bucket, a file to the one of the bucket. Assume that this is a bucket, sir. Someone is loading the file to the bucket. As soon as the file is loaded to the bucket, you wanted to move this file. Okay, look at here. Sir, this is a one of the cloud storage bucket, and you are trying to upload a file to the bucket. So whenever you are uploading or deleting or creating or doing any kind of activity over the Google Cloud Storage bucket, if you want your cloud functions to be triggered, you can use that particular thing. So the event is that uploading a file to the bucket so that the cloud functions gets triggered. Okay, it is similar to your Lambda function in the AWS, where it is a trigger based mechanism. If some activity or if some event is happening, so that your cloud function gets triggered, your function gets triggered. And as 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 we all know that cloud function is a one of the function only, so inside that you can write a code whenever this function is gets triggered, so that this code gets run. So this is what is your cloud function, sir. A cloud function is a event based. It is a trigger mechanism. So whenever some activity is happening or event is happening, your cloud functions gets triggered. If your cloud function gets triggered, inside your cloud function, if you specify some code, it is going to be running. So that is what is a cloud function, sir. Okay. If you can see here, it is a serverless computing service provided by the Google Cloud Platform. In simple terms, it is a serverless architecture, means you can run your code without having to explicitly provision or managing the servers. So whenever this cloud function, the code is running, you don't need to provide any kind of a servers, or you don't need to provision any kind of a resources. Automatically the resources going to be provisioned because it is a serverless. Okay, you can see here the characteristics. This is serverless computing, event driven. As I told you, event driven means, so the cloud functions are designed to be event driven. This means your function is executed in response to the specific events. Whenever some event is happening, in response to those particular event, the cloud functions gets executed. Okay, and you only pay the cost for the computation that is used during the execution process. We are only paying the computation sorry, we are only paying the computations. That means we are only paying the money for the resources that were utilized during that particular cloud function running. Whenever the cloud function running only, we are only paying the money. We are not paying the money whenever the cloud function is not running. So that is how it is like a pay as you go model. And the cloud function, whenever you wanted to write a code in the cloud function supports multiple programming languages such as Node.js, Python, Go, Java, and many more. And it is scalable, can be integrated with all other Google Cloud Platform services, stateless and short-lived. Stateless means you don't need to create any state, and it is short-lived only, guys. It can only be used for some amount of period only. You cannot be able to create an end-to-end web application and use it with the help of the cloud function. That is not possible. It will only be available for some amount of time. Okay, after that, it is going to be terminated. And the billing model is pay-as-you-go model, as I told you. So whenever your cloud function is running, the resources, if it is utilized, the computational cost we are going to only pay. We are not going to pay extra money. As soon as the cloud function is triggered, if it is using any kind of resources, for that resources only we are going to pay the money. That's it. So that is how the billing model for that. Okay, so very simple. If you wanted to understand the cloud function, it is an event driven solution. This is how it works. Event driven solution. Okay, 1 minute, guys. So it is an event driven solution where, for example, whenever an event is happening, in response to this particular event, the cloud function gets triggered so that the cloud function code gets executed. So this code gets executed. So this is how the cloud function works, guys. Okay. Let us try to do a one simple activity. It's more of it's not a theoretical concept. It's more of a practical only. Let us try to see in the theoretical how we can able to create a cloud function and how we can able to use it for our own requirement purpose. So this is what I am taking a scenario, guys. Assume that I have a Google Cloud Storage bucket, GCS bucket. Assume that we have a GCS bucket and we wanted to, so the client is uploading some kind of a files every day, sir. Assume that the client is there and he is uploading some kind of a CSV file or a JSON files every day. CSV files or JSON files he is going to be uploading every day. And we do not know when he is uploading. Right, we do not know when he is uploading. So that's the reason whenever as soon as the file is uploaded to the Google Cloud Storage bucket and you wanted to move this data to the Google BigQuery. Sir, I wanted to move it to the BigQuery as a table. I wanted to move it to the BigQuery table. I wanted to create a table in the BigQuery as soon as the file is created. So for this purpose, I wanted to use the Google Cloud Functions. Okay, for this one, I wanted to use the Cloud Functions, guys. Look at here. So whenever a file is uploaded to the Google Cloud Storage bucket, I can use that as a trigger mechanism so that if this particular event is happening, if that particular event is happening, I wanted to execute a code so that this code moves the data from this particular cloud storage bucket to the Google BigQuery table. So this is what is our requirement. So as soon as the file is uploaded to the Google Cloud Storage bucket, I wanted it to be moved to the BigQuery. For that one, we need to create an architecture and we need to create an end-to-end solution. So for this one, we are going to use the cloud function because a cloud function is a event-driven solution. So one some kind of event here is that GCS bucket, uploading a file to the GCS bucket. So whenever that event is happening, our code gets executed so that the file will be loaded to the BigQuery. So we need to prepare this code. So this code can be written in the Python or Java or Ruby or any other languages for some. for example. Okay, so this is our agenda, sir. So as soon as the file is uploaded to the GCS bucket, I want the file to be loaded to the BigQuery table. For doing that, we are going to use the cloud function, because cloud function is a event-driven solution. In response to the event, the code gets executed here. Whenever this code gets executed, I wanted to move that file to the BigQuery table. So this is our agenda. Okay, is it clear, guys? Anyone have any questions here? Do we have any questions?
Yes, sir. We have previously also serverless, right? Like a data flow.
Correct.
That service cannot be used for events.
Events, that's not an event driven solution. Okay, that's more of a scheduled service. So you have to schedule it. Okay, you cannot use it as an event driven. So if some event is happening, you can't use the data flow as a event driven. Okay, because data flow works as a time. So you can schedule it, but you cannot use it as an event driven solution. Okay. Okay, let us try to do that, guys. Now let me go to the Google Cloud Platform and let me go to the cloud functions. So you can see here, guys, it is a event-driven serverless functions. Click on the cloud function. So this is how the cloud function looks like. So you can see here, it is a lightweight event-based asynchronous computing solution that allows you to create small and single-purpose functions that respond to the cloud events. Okay, so that is how it is. One minute, guys. Okay, so like if I wanted to create a cloud function, we can click on create function. So it is lightweight, guys. As I told you, as I also mentioned you, it is a lightweight. You cannot use it for the big applications. You can only use it for the small applications only. It cannot handle large applications. First thing, and it is event based. As I told you, event driven or event based, both are same. As per the events only, this cloud functions gets executed. It is a asynchronous computing solution that allows you to small and single purpose functions only. So asynchronous computing solution is that, so it does not I mean, it is not going to be synced with any other applications. It mainly works whenever the event is happening, and in response to those events, the cloud in response to those cloud events, it is going to be executed based on the requirement. And it is very small, as I told you, and small and lightweight and single purpose only. You cannot use it for the multiple purposes. Okay, so now you see here, guys, I'm going to click on create function. You can enable the APIs if you wanted to use the cloud functions. Okay, so I'm going to go to the, you have two generation environments are there. I'm going to the first generation environment. So you can give your name to your function. So you can give any name. So demo function I'm giving, demo function 1. So now you can see here, guys, the region I'm selected as a US Central one, that's fine. Trigger. So what is our trigger, guys, here? So for my particular this activity, what is the trigger? The event trigger. File
CSV file.
uploading a file to the Google Cloud Storage bucket. The service is Google Cloud Storage. So we select the cloud storage, and event type is archiving no, deleting no, creating yes. Creating or finalizing a file inside a cloud storage bucket. That is our event type. So the trigger type, what is the service? So the service is cloud storage that we have selected, and the event is this one. And we need to select a bucket. So let me gonna go to that particular bucket. Go to that particular bucket and click on cloud storage. You can select any of the buckets, sir. So, okay, this is there. Why it is having this many in all of these things? Okay, let me gonna delete these files, guys. We don't want that. So just to let you know, to avoid the confusion only, even you have it the files also, that is fine. To avoid the confusion only, I am removing these guys. Look at here. Okay, so this is a bucket. I wanted to select it, landing bucket 630, 730. So I'm going to click on browse. You select the bucket, landing bucket 630, 730. So this is how. Now what we have selected, the trigger type. So the trigger type is cloud storage service. If a file is created in the cloud storage service, we want the cloud function to be gets triggered. So that is what is our event, and the response is that the cloud function gets triggered. So whenever the cloud function gets triggered, what I wanted to do is that I wanted to run a code, right? So we are going to do that as well. I'm going to click on save first, then click on next. Then this is where you have to provide your code. So your code can be written in any of these languages like .NET, Go, Java, Node.js, PHP, Python, all of these things. I'm going to select Python 3.9, and here we have to provide the Python code, and here we have to mention the requirement.txt. So this is how all the things are here only, guys. We just have to select one by one. Okay. 1 minute, guys. So let me gonna show you the code as well. It's a very simple code. Let me explain the code for you. So this is the code, guys. I'm going to explain it to you guys, and I will paste this code there. So the very simple, the important thing that we are doing is that moving the file from the cloud storage to the BigQuery. Okay, let me gonna tell you first. So I wanted to move it to the BigQuery, so that's the reason I am importing the BigQuery and OS operating system level things. And now I'm defining a function, sir. Cloud function is nothing but a function only. Okay, so we need to define a function. That function is load to BigQuery, and it is expecting the data and context. So the data. So the file name, nothing but our cloud storage bucket file name, and the bucket name. Sir, can you tell me, can we get this file name as well as bucket name from the event? Okay, can we get this information from the event? So the event is uploading a file to the cloud storage bucket. So that is the
Yes.
reason I have given here the file name is equal to data name, and the bucket name is equal to the bucket. So these details like file name and bucket name we are getting it from the event. We are getting this information from the event. So data is nothing but an event. This cloud function will, when it will run, this cloud function will run whenever that event is happening. From that event, there is some kind of a data will be there. From that data only, I am getting the name as well as bucket name. The name is nothing but a file name. The bucket is nothing but a bucket name. So these are the two things that we are getting it from the cloud storage event. And I'm initializing the BigQuery client. So I wanted to load this data to some, what I would say, table ID. So let me go to the BigQuery also. I wanted to move it to some data set, right? So we need to select a proper data set. So we wanted to load this data to them. Load this data to this inside data set, guys. So I'm going to copy this data set. I'm going to copy that data set. The data set name is inside data set I have given. So the table name. So table name, I am getting it from this particular file name, sir. Look at here. So we have already getting the file name. So the file name will be CSV. So something like sales.csv or employee.csv or some other file you are going to upload it, right? So whenever you are uploading employee.csv, that is your file name. So employee.csv. I am splitting the data based on that particular comma and taking the first index, so that employee.csv means employee is your table name. So that is what I'm doing it. Okay, so the table name is going to be the file name only, excluding the suffix. Okay, so we are going to exclude the suffix and we are going to take the prefix only, that is our file name. That is going to be the table name. So now we have here the file name and bucket name. We need to create a source URI. So source URI looks like this, guys. So it is like gs:// bucket name / file name, right? So this is how I have created the source URI from this one, because we need to have the source path. The path we need to get it. So the path is different and the file name and bucket is different. File name and bucket is something like you are getting the details, but you need to create a path. The path or source URI is something that starts from the gs:// and we have mentioned the bucket name and file name. These details already there. Okay. Now, based on the file extension, we need to get to know the what kind of a file that we are dealing with. Okay, so if you know what kind of a type file we are going to dealing with, we need to mention the source format. Okay, the format, whether it is a CSV file or a Parquet file or a Avro file or a JSON file, we need to get to know. We need to determine the source format based on the file extension. So just now we have seen, if the file name is like sales.csv, the prefix we are going to use it for the table name, the suffix we can use it for the file extension. Okay, you can see here file extension. If we are splitting the data, if we are splitting this file name based on some comma, the suffix is going to be the .csv or .json. If .csv, the source format is going to be the BigQuery.sourceFormat.csv. If the file extension is .json, then the source format is going to be the BigQuery.sourceFormat.newline-delimited.json. So this is how we need to determine the file format. If you do not know the file format, we need to determine it like this. If you know that all is going to be the CSV file only, you don't need to write this kind of a if and else statement. You can directly mention source format is equal to BigQuery.csv. So that is how you can mention directly the source format. But if you do not know, based on the file, it has to be, it is going to be changed. In that case, you can write such a kind of a statement so that you can able to find the source format based on the file extension. Okay, now if you have other formats also, you can even write it. You can also write it one more elif statement for the Parquet file, Avro file, all of those things as well. So that is, you guys can feel free to do that. Now we are going to create a job configuration, because whenever you wanted to load the data here, look at here. So BQ client dot loading the data from the URI, we are going to mention the source URI, that is your source file, and your table name, and the job configuration here. This job configuration I have defined here. So whenever you wanted to move the data from this Python to the Google Cloud storage, Google Cloud BigQuery from the cloud storage, the path we have to mention the Google Cloud storage path, as well as the table ID, the output table. This is source, this is destination, and the configuration. So while doing this operation, do we have any kind of a configuration? That configuration I'm mentioning it here, like a schema, auto detecting the schema, and skipping the leading rows. Source format is equal to, we have determined the source format here. So that is how we need to mention all of these things for this particular line only. Whenever you wanted to move the data from the Google Cloud Storage to the BigQuery, we are going to the BQ client data using Python. If you wanted to move it, BigQuery client dot loading from the URI, source, destination, and configuration. So we have to initialize the BQ client. So we have initialized the BigQuery client here. And source URI, you need to create the source URI. And dataset ID and table ID, you have to define the dataset ID and table ID here. And job configuration. For the job configuration, you see here, guys, auto detecting the schema, leading the skipping rows, source format. For determining the source format, again we have written this code. So all of these things are interlinked for this particular activity only. To start the job, you can just write this code so that the job will get started and it will wait for the computational resources to be completed. Once the job is completed, your data will be moved from here to there. So that is how it works, guys. You can Control S, Control All, Control C, and you can see here I'm going to the cloud functions. You can paste here the cloud functions. Okay, you can paste here the cloud functions. And also for this particular code to run, we are using the cloud storage we're also using the BigQuery. So you can also use both of these as a requirement.txt. You can come here, you can mention those things. If you know the versions, you can mention it. If you don't know the versions, you can remove it. That's also fine. Okay, so it will upload, it will try to download the latest versions. And now look at here, guys. So where the cloud function gets started, this cloud function code will start from this defining the function only, right? So that function is your entry point. That function is your entry point. You have to specify the entry point here. That's it. So if this cloud function has to start, from where it has to start, we have to mention the entry point. So from here only it has to start, because we have not, we have defined some function. That's it. We have not executed the function. If we wanted to execute the function, here we are mentioning the entry point, so that whenever some event is happened, that from the entry point onwards, the code gets running. Okay, so that is how it is. Once you have provided all the details, you can just click on deploy. You can just click on deploy. So the cloud function will be deployed within 2 to 3 minutes. Okay, so meanwhile, if you guys have any questions, you can ask me. It will take 2 to 3 minutes, guys. If you have any questions, you can ask me.
Yeah, I have a couple of questions, Rahul.
Yes, please.
So the first question is, these cloud functions are specific to the bucket, right? Each bucket.
It's not only for the bucket. You can also go for while you are creating the function. So you can select the HTTP. For those cloud developers, they can use it HTTP. If someone is accessing some link, if you wanted to create some kind of a website, then in that case you can go to the HTTP. Okay, so that is also you can go for. Mostly we will be using first generation only HTTP. And cloud pops up. If some message is pushed to the cloud pops up topic, you can also use the cloud function for getting the triggered. Cloud Firestore, all of these things are there, but mainly we will be using the cloud pub storage as well as PubSub. Okay, for the developers, they can actually use the HTTP also. So these are the three methods mainly they will use for the trigger type.
Okay, so let's assume I have 10 buckets in my area. Okay, I have 10 buckets in the Google Cloud Storage. Okay, I have created a function, cloud function. So to move, whenever there is a file created in any of those 10 buckets, it has to move the data from that storage to the BigQuery table. So is creating one function is enough, or do we need to create 10 functions for that?
No, you have to create it, but the requirement is not that. So usually, I got your point, but why 10 buckets? You can create a 10 folders in a single bucket, right? So you can have a hierarchy. You can follow something like that. Instead, because cloud storage bucket is something like a container. If you wanted to even organize it more better inside that, you can create a 10 folders. That becomes one particular bucket only, right?
I mean, based on the project, I have created one bucket for each project, something like that. Okay. So let's say I have 10 applications.
For each project, when I say, then you have to create each cloud function separately. For each project means for each cloud function, it is separate. Okay. Yeah.
So there is no way we can declare it as globally and it will be applicable for all.
In terms of a cloud function, if you wanted to create one resource, not only one cloud function, if you wanted to use one resources, it will be tagged to the cloud for one particular project only. Okay, sir, this is my requirement.
Yeah.
So based on that, you have to use the resources for single project only.
Okay, and let's one more question is, let's say I have a one bucket, and at the same time 100 files has been loaded into that bucket. Okay, so is this cloud function is going to execute for all those 100 files sequentially, or is there a mechanism to run this function?
It is scalable. It is scalable. It works at the same time. However, you have mentioned your Python code. Okay, it depends on your code, right? So your code is doing the sequential or parallel. Okay, if your code you
Python code we have to do.
Right, correct. Okay. So your code is the main thing, because your code defines what the cloud function has to do, right? If you define the code to run one by one, it is going to be running one by one. Your code says it is going to be running parallel. It can also go run to the parallel, but cloud function is only small purpose, but it is moving a large files, very large files is very hard. But in that case, you can actually do one more thing also. So that is our actually the project that I'm going to explain tomorrow. So the cloud functions, instead of running the cloud function, moving the data from the cloud storage to the GCS to the BigQuery, you can trigger the data flow job. So whenever the file is uploaded to the cloud storage, you can trigger the cloud function to get triggered. You can make the cloud function to run a data flow job, so that the data flow is, which is a data processing system. It can do anything, and which is serverless also. What it can data flow will do is that it will read any number of files from here, and it will load the data to the any number of tables. So the data flow is a data processing job. You can do heavy amount of data processing also, or data loading also. But cloud function is only created for the short-lived or small purpose, single purpose. Okay, so in that case, you can do this kind of activity. So that we are going to see it in our tomorrow's session. So that is our final project tomorrow. Okay. So this is what you can do if you have a lot of files. So that's what we do, right? If one single machine cannot be able to handle, that's where we are going to come up with a distributed environment. Here also, cloud function, you can think of like a cloud function is a small purpose. It's like a single machine. One single machine can only handle some amount of data. It cannot handle more amount of data. So that's the reason you can trigger the data flow. So when you submit a data flow job, automatically it move whether it is 100, 200, or whether it is a very huge amount of a data also, it can move the data to the BigQuery. Okay.
So data flow is a scheduled job, right? I mean,
You are scheduling it, right? So now you are running the data flow. You are submitting the data flow job now from the cloud.
Adactly, right? I mean, whenever we need
it. Not adapt. So you are submitting it when the cloud function code. This is just a code, right? Cloud function means what? It's a code. So you are writing a code, and so manually how you usually run a data flow code, you submit a data flow job.
Yes.
Right. So you submit it so that the data flow will running the job. Similarly, instead of you submitting the cloud function is getting submitted. The cloud function is submitting the code to the data flow now, so that the data flow job will run.
No.
Right. So that is how the people are using the cloud functions. Can be integrated with multiple systems, so that the cloud function can be easily integrated with other systems, can be used for various purposes. Okay. Yeah. Any other questions?
One query I have. HTTP service used on, right? Is it for the SOAP request or even for the REST service? For what purpose will you use that?
So that's why. So that's what I'm telling you. So whenever you have a HTTP web link, sir, so I'm using the HTTP web link. Okay, if someone is accessing this link, I wanted to create a small website. Okay, in that case, you can use it, and this website is only for small period of time. Once the session is gone, the website gets terminated. So if someone is accessing this link, so they can able to, it creates a website in the backend. So that's how the website will be available to them, so that they can start using it. After some time, the website gets terminated. So that is how it works.
And do we have any existing functions which we can read that XML or JSON output, or we have to write any specific code once we get the response for these API services?
No, it's not. You are not doing any kind of a thing. You are just writing a code. So usually, how do you create a website? How do you create a website? So if you wanted to create a website, you can write a Java code, Python code, all of those things, right? So a simple function you can able to, a simple website you can able to create it. And if someone is accessing that particular link, this HTTP link, this website gets created. That's it. And if one wanted to interact with the website, also they can able to interact it. For example, sir, I wanted to take the user's information. You can take the user information also there. So that is how. So everything works via APIs only. Now, whenever you are clicking that particular link, it automatically gets created, and you can access this one. After some time, it gets triggered. So for the resources and everything, it will be automatically created by the cloud function only, because it is serverless. Okay.
Okay.
So that is how it works. Yeah. Any other question, guys? Similarly, the PubSub also. whenever someone is pushing some kind of a message to the topic, PubSub topic, so the cloud function gets triggered. So that is one of the trigger type. So that if you wanted to do any kind of activity, you can mention that in the code. Like you wanted to send a mail to someone. Okay, that can be possible. Or loading this data to the BigQuery, that is also possible. Or loading the data to the Google Cloud Storage, that is also possible. Doing any action. So programmatically, if you are able to do something, that can be done using anything. Okay, so if you are able to write some code for doing some activity, if that is possible via code, then with using the cloud function, whatever the requirement you have, it can be possible if you are able to write the code. Okay, so that is how main thing is writing the code, guys. If you are able to write the code, automatically the cloud function is getting triggered now. So whenever it is triggered, you wanted to do some action. So that action, if you wanted to, if you are able to provide it in terms of a code and which is achievable within terms of a code, can be done anything. We can do anything. Okay, yeah. Sending a mail, BigQuery loading, GCS, or some other creating a website or anything we can do that. But all of these things are like short-lived only. This function cannot be available for all the time, so it is only available for short amount of time. Yeah. Okay, so now let us go back. I think we might have created the cloud function. So the cloud function is now available, sir. You can go to the cloud function, one of the demo function we have created. You can see here, this is our source and these are the main.py and the requirement.txt we have defined so far properly. And our entry point is load to the BigQuery. So whenever the trigger is done, from here only the cloud function gets started. If you have wanted to mention any variables, the trigger type is cloud storage. Event type is creating a file inside the cloud storage bucket. The bucket also we have selected. And here we have the logs. Just now the cloud function gets triggered, right? So we can also see the logs if something is happening or not. Okay, what I will do, I'll go to this particular bucket. I will try to upload one file, guys, so that we can see whether it is moving the data or not for testing purpose. I'm going to click on this file. I will try to select my customer orders. Okay, I'm going to select customer orders. One of the CSV file I'm now uploading. You guys can see here, customer orders.csv. Now, once it is uploaded, you guys can go here and refresh this one so that the cloud function gets triggered by that particular event that we have done. And if it's failed also, it will throw an error because if you are not mentioned your code properly, then it will fail. So let us see now.
Can we schedule certain time, sir?
See here. So the cloud function is executed, execution started. It took almost 4,000 milliseconds and the finished execution status okay. That means it moved the data from here to BigQuery table. You can come here. The table name is customer orders. So we should be able to see the table with the customer orders. Refresh the table. You see here, guys, customer orders table is created just now. Okay, you can see the details also. Just now it is created 740:36. Okay, so this is how, if you upload any file. So now you come here, sir, I wanted to upload one more file. So you can go back. Okay, all of this is SQL files. Okay, so let me do this one. CSV file. I'm uploading the CSV file. So it's a large file, Spotify dataset. So you have uploaded this one. You can actually directly come here instead of checking the logs. You can refresh it. See here, data file LSB. These are the sample data only. It is going to be created very faster. You guys can see it here. So this is a very huge number of columns also there, but it is having just 10,000 records, I guess. Only 2,000 records. So that's the reason. But when you are uploading a very large file, 1 GB, 2 GB, it is going to taking a bit more time. Okay, for the cloud function to be triggered and running.
But
Okay,
schema definitions are different, right? Did we mention that in that cloud function?
We have auto detected the schema, if you can see here. It is auto detected the schema. If you don't want it to auto detect the schema, but you know that the job that you are going to upload it, you can define your own schema also. But for now, for this particular case, I have auto detected the schema. So whatever the file I'm uploading, it is going to be creating the schema on its own.
Can we schedule this Lambda functions, like cloud functions?
Cloud function is not for the scheduling purpose. Okay, cloud function is only for the event driven.
event-driven.
So why you have to do the cloud function scheduled? Can you tell me the reason? What is the see every resource which we wanted to use in the Google Cloud Platform as per the requirement. Some specific service that they have created is that they have a requirement. As per the requirement only we are going to use it. Cloud function is the requirement if you have an event driven. So if you have wanted to schedule a why you have to come to the cloud function, you have a data processing system like Dataproc, Dataflow, Airflow is there. You can go and schedule it and you can run it, right? Why you have to come to here? And not only that, it is just a Python code. If some Python code is able to do it, why do you have to give it to the cloud function? You write a cloud Python code and automatically trigger it at some point of time. Why you have to create a cloud function for that? Right? It's just a Python code, right? The Python code only it is doing. This Python code I will try to schedule it. Why I have to create a cloud function? Yes or no?
Yes, yes. Yeah.
So it's only mainly designed for the event-driven solution.
So you are saying that we should use on the SDK CLIs.
Of course, you can do that, right? So you can create some SDK. You can use the SDK and you can write some Python code. The same Python code you can use it. The same Python code, and you can run it whenever you wanted to run it. Okay. So whenever it is running, it moves the data, right? Yes or no?
Yes, yes, yes. Understood.
Yeah. Okay. So this is how it works, guys. If you guys have any questions. Okay.
Sir, while creating the cloud function, you selected some specific bucket, 670 something. Is there anything reason that?
No, you can select any bucket. I just selected one of the bucket, empty bucket. That's it. You can create your own bucket and you can select it. It's any bucket you can select it. Okay. There isn't anything something like we have to select this bucket only. Any bucket you can select it. Okay. In the cloud function generation 2, you have even more trigger types. You have a HTTP, cloud storage, cloud Firestore, and you wanted to define your own trigger type also, you can define it actually. So they have added few more things in terms of the trigger types. You can also do that as well. Okay, so that is also there. So because these cloud function now in the first generation was limited to the cloud storage, PubSub and this thing, but now you can use any kind of a service. You can even use third-party tools as well. Okay, so they have mentioned cloud resources. You can see here plenty of the services. If some service is going to be happening, some kind of event is going to happen in any of these services also, you can take it as a trigger and you can do that. So that is also they have mentioned, but it is very rarely people will be using the second generation. Most of the time the first generation is heavily used, and heavily used is HTTP, PubSub and cloud storage. They don't use any other thing. And now once you select this one, cloud storage, you select a bucket. Once you have selected the bucket, you can select any bucket for your case. Okay. I just sorry?
Select only one bucket, right? Select
only one bucket. We can't select a multiple buckets. Okay. Only one bucket. Once you have selected, and I can also tell you, I forgot to tell you this one. So the runtime properties also you can provide it. Maximum properties are like 8 GB. The memory allocation will be maximum 8 GB. Minimum is 128 MB memory allocation for your resources. So if some action or if some kind of activity is going on and under the back end, their kind of a resource is going to be worked and the resource is going to be allocated, right? Those resources also you can define it. Maximum is 8 GB. And the timeout period is like maximum is I think 900. I think I forgot 9 minutes or something. So maximum is 540. I guess 540. Maximum is 540 seconds is nothing but a how many minutes are
9 minutes.
9 minutes. Yeah, 9 minutes you can say. So that is how the maximum timeout minute is 9 minutes, and it is auto scaled by default. You don't need to do select it is guys. Automatically it is auto scaled. Even though you mention something, it will be auto scaled only. So all of these things are here. If you wanted to set up some service account also, you can do that. Once you have provided these details also, you can click on next. Yeah.
So if the file is not, file, if the process is not completing within those 9 minutes, it will be failed, right?
Correct.
So in case of large CSV files, maybe it is taking more than that. So that's why you are saying that this cloud functions is not applicable for huge data.
Correct. So when you are having when you are planning for a data processing operation, Cloud function is not for the data processing. Cloud function is like you have some activity, a small activity which you wanted to do it in that case, and which you want a serverless. Now you are not creating any kind of a server. You are directly running it. So directly deploying it. So if it is taking a lot of time, you cannot be able to do it with the cloud functions, because the cloud function is only short-lived. For some amount of period it will be available. After some time it will be timed out. If your function is taking more time than the 9 minutes, then it is going to be timed out. So that's how it works. And later you can just click on it. You can provide your runtime, and you can also have your code. If your code is there in the cloud storage bucket or cloud storage repositories or zip upload, if you wanted to select it, you can select it anything, guys. This code, we have to write a code. Sir, my code, I'm going to do it with the help of some kind of a repository. Sir, my code is there in some repository. You can also select that. Or you can mention your inline editor also. You can mention your code here also. Okay, so that is how it is. So this is all about the cloud functions. Any question? I'm deleting it. We don't need this one. So even though you don't delete it also, that's totally fine, because you are not going, if you are not uploading, the cloud function will be zero cost. Okay. Yes. Any other questions?
So this PubSub event, can you tell me, when we selected PubSub, right, I need to choose some topic also, right, where the message is coming.
You can create your own topic whenever you are selecting the PubSub. So PubSub, so you need to select a topic where it is going to be receiving the messages. If you do not have any topic, you can create your own topic. So some topic you can give some topic name. So topic one, you can say, you can create it. So to this topic, if any of the data is received, and the cloud function gets triggered. Okay. So that's how it works. So the topic is selected.
Okay, from external systems to that topic, specific topic, we need to,
whether it is internal or external, if the topic is receiving some messages, the cloud function gets triggered. Okay, if there is a new message in the PubSub topic, that's it, the cloud function gets triggered. Okay, so that is how one of the things. And writing a code to your actions, that is your next thing.
Like any use cases, real-time use cases.
No, usually what happens is that so usually most of the time this cloud PubSub is used for the streaming data ingestion. Assume that I have a data that is coming from some application or some web service or some log, whatever it is. So I have a PubSub topic here. The topic is receiving the messages from some external or internal, whatever it is. And whenever this is receiving, this is streaming data, this is stream data. I wanted to continuously move this data to the BigQuery if you wanted to do that, because continuously you are getting the data. So whenever there is a new message, I wanted to send it to the BigQuery. In that case, we can use the cloud function. So cloud function cannot handle the streaming data. It can handle the streaming data, but it is not for all the time. It is only for the short-lived. In such scenario, you can do the data flow. The cloud function creates a job in the data flow. This job is going to be continuously running, and it moves the data from the topic to this one. So this is how you can create it. Okay, so that whenever there's new message in the topic, it will be moved to the BigQuery. Okay, so most of the times they will be using it like this. And PubSub also can be used for the streaming data ingestion. For this particular thing, for this with respect to the cloud function and PubSub, this is a main use case people will be using it. And PubSub can be used for various other cases as well, for email triggering or for some kind of a receiving the messages or publisher subscriber model. So all of those things also you can use it for the PubSub. Okay. Yeah.
Whichever you drawn, right, that data
Yes.
flow, that is again cron job system, right? We can use that one. This one.
Data flow can be used for the anything, can be used for that anything. But then whenever you have a topic message in the topic, someone has to trigger the data flow job. Otherwise, the data flow job will not run. Okay, the data flow, any job in the Google Cloud Platform, for example, any data processing task, whether it has to, you have to manually run it, or someone has to schedule it. So whether you are manually running it or someone scheduling it, data flow job will run. Manually running it, we can't do that, right? We do not know when the topic data is going to be getting. So instead of manually running, I want the cloud function to run it. So the cloud function will run the job in the data flow. Okay, so what you are saying is schedule. Schedule is different. Scheduling it is different. So when you schedule it, whatever the amount of data that is received within that particular time until that particular time, so that data will be moved. But if it is running after time, that again it cannot be moved, right? So scheduling is different and event is different. So when it is event based, all the time it is going to be running.
This one, how we can secure, sir? Is there any parameters we need to pass to secure this job? Anything?
Submitting is different, and securing means what do you call it as a securing the data and yeah.
Meaning somewhere we will provide some. My job is see, other project people cannot be triggered, cannot be view this one.
No,
Like
in
that.
that case, access control is there, right? That's what I told you, right? Any resource in the GCP by default they have a zero access, right? You have IAM policy for that. By default, if you are creating a one project in the GCP, okay, and you are using the resource in that particular project, that resource is having zero access to the other team by default. They cannot trigger. They cannot even see whether they have a topic or not. If even though they come to this particular project. So the project itself does not show any resources whether it is created also, because that particular page they cannot be able to see it. When they are not able to see it at all, they how can they submit it? Okay, so this is kind of something. So when it comes to the security or access control, you go to the IAM and you can manage it. Okay, so that is how you manage it. Okay. Okay, guys. So this is it for today. If you guys have any questions, you can ask me. Otherwise, we can wind up this session.
For us, like we have any what do you call it? Any practice, sir? Some practice you can give me any use cases, anything?
I mean, whatever I am telling you, if you are able to implement it, that's more than enough, I would say, for the boot camp purpose. Whatever I am explaining you so far, if you are able to actually implement it, that's more than enough for this one. So that means you have learned a lot. So when I say data proc, PySpark, if you are able to achieve whatever I have implemented, that's more than enough. And data flow also, and Airflow also, and cloud functions also, and BigQuery also, and cloud storage. So if you are able to implement these things, I'm telling you, this is more than enough. You have learned it, but that's what I'm telling you. If you are learning is different, doing is different. If you are if you are able to understand something, that means I'm able to deliver it properly, and that means whatever I am saying today, it is making more sense. But tomorrow, if you wanted to do the same thing, if you wanted to achieve the same thing, that's where you see a challenge. Okay, whenever I am telling something, it makes very sense. But when you wanted to do it actually on your hands on, then it is going to be failing. So that's where you are going to see the challenge. So far, whatever I have done, try to take it as a challenge and you can do it. If you are able to do it, that's more than enough, I'm telling you. I'm pretty sure that you are going to face challenges. You are going to face challenges for sure, because these are all the new services that you are interacted with. In one go, if you are not able to, if you are able to understand it, that means you are very smart. And if you are not able to do it, that's where you have to put your hands on. Okay. Yeah. Okay, so that is it, guys. We will see a few more things tomorrow, and yeah.
Tomorrow, Monday or Saturday, sir?
So tomorrow we have a session, guys. Tomorrow Saturday we have a session. So that is our final session. I'm going to take it like 2 hours. Okay, so we are going to create a one project, and that's where whatever services that we have interacted so far, right? I'm going to create it as a project, and we are going to see it so that you will be able to have an end-to-end pipeline also. How people will be using this resources for creating an end-to-end solution, that we are going to cover it. Tomorrow we have a session, sir. So that is last session tomorrow. I'm going to mention in the group also. Okay.
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 Sir, and for the advanced course, is any
Actually, I have informed about the advanced course as well, guys. To Ashok, I think I'm not sure he's not updated yet. I will ping you because that advanced course I actually taking it for many other things as well. So many people are going to join from other institute as well. So I'm not sure whether Ashok has actually planned it or not, but I will inform you. Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, guys. Thank you all. Have a great day. Bye bye. We'll meet tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.